Greetings and welcome back to our pre-concert video presentations. It's hard to believe we're about to present our last concerts of the season, but this last program promises to be a finale full of energy. We've called it high blood pleasure, playing with words, because music is certainly going to raise your heartbeat, but at the same time we hope it will also provide you with a truly joyful experience, just pure fun. The program will open with a composition by the French composer Darius Milhaud called Le Bœuf sur le Toit, or in English, The Bull on the Roof. This work is really one of the sassiest compositions of the whole 20th century. Milhaud conceived it originally as the soundtrack to an imaginary Charlie Chaplin film or silent film. He even had in mind the subtitle of Cinéma Fantasy for it. But then the poet Jean Cocteau turned it into a stage production, some kind of absurdist ballet or pantomime that, by the way, enjoyed immediate success when it was premiered in Paris in 1920. Cocteau himself described this ballet as an American farce made by a Parisian who had never been to North America. This ballet featured the Fratellini brothers, very famous clowns and acrobats at the time, and the choreography was by the great Leonid Massim. As you are going to notice, Le Bœuf sur le Toit has a very apparent Brazilian flavor. Milhaud was born in the south of France, but during the First World War he moved to Rio de Janeiro for a couple of years, and he was working as the secretary to poet Paul Claudel, who was at the time France's ambassador to Brazil. When the war was over, Milhaud returned to Paris, full of good memories from Brazil, and started working on this piece, assembling all kinds of popular Brazilian melodies and tangos, maxises, sambas, even a Portuguese fado. In the end, the composition took the form of a rondo in which, after every couple of melodies, a recurring theme keeps coming back. And believe me, this theme is so catchy that you will be able to sing it by the end of the performance. The next piece in the program, Shostakovich's Second Piano Concerto, was a birthday present from the Russian composer to his son Maxim when he turned 19. Already in the first movement, after a very brief introduction by the woodwinds, the piano presents the main theme. Very simple, almost like a nursery tune. But shortly after, it picks up speed and takes off. Then we have a snare drum that brings a sort of mocking military air, as of toy soldiers marching. Shostakovich manages to develop these materials to the point of showing a very rich orchestral coloring. And maybe that's the reason why this movement was picked up as part of the soundtrack for the movie Fantasia 2000, Disney's remake of the classic movie. The second movement of the concerto is a beautiful example of an affected, tender melancholy, just for the solo piano and muted strings, with the exception of a few low notes in the French horn. The third movement is full of wit. It is almost like a piano exercise going wild, very exuberant, but with plenty of youthful energy. It really is infectious music in the best sense of the term. And we are very lucky that for this virtuosic piece we will count on the talents of a first-rate pianist, Jeffrey Chappell. And we will be finishing this program with Beethoven's 7th Symphony. Beethoven's 7th is one of those pieces that leaves a very strong impression from the first time you hear it. There have been all kinds of attempts by scholars and critics to capture the work's essence, invoking all kinds of metaphorical and programmatic explanations. But in my opinion, what has made Beethoven's Seventh Symphony such a popular work is that it represents a wild celebration of life and freedom. It radiates joy and happiness at such primary level that not even the slow movement can seriously compromise it. It is well known that Richard Wagner referred to this symphony as the apotheosis of the dance, and while the dance elements are of crucial importance throughout the work, for me it has more to do with the sheer vitality of the rhythmic patterns that Beethoven uses. Every single movement is compulsively tied to a few rhythmic patterns consisting of alternating long and short notes in an almost simplistic but obsessive way. In the first movement you have pam param pam param pam param pam. In the second movement we have pam 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 pam. The third movement we have pa 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 pa, and then in the trio pa ra ram. And of course in the first movement we have pam para 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 pam para para pam para para pa, and pam pa pam pa pam pa pam pa pam pa pam pa pam. And all these rhythmic patterns have in common a self-propelling quality that keeps re-energizing every motif they infect. That's how Beethoven manages to build the momentum to unthinkable heights, like at the end of the first or the fourth movements. And that's how he manages to unleash the almost barbaric but liberating forces that will certainly raise your blood pressure. I hope you will join us for these last concerts of our current season, and stay tuned for our upcoming 2010-2011 season. It is going to be a great one. Thank you.